What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got a sweet standard Brawl list for you guys. This one we're taking a look at Radha, Heart of Keld. Of course, it's a new card from Core 21. 3 mana, 3/3, Legendary Elf Warrior. As long as your turn, Radha has first strike. And you can look at the top card of your library anytime, and you can play lands from the top card of your library. So you don't need to play additional lands with Radha, but there are certainly other ways of doing that. We're not really running those cards like Azusa and some of the other things that allow you to play additional lands. Dryad of the that 2/4 Dryad enchantment. I forget his name right now. But yeah, there's ways of doing that, but we're not really too worried about really ramping. Gruul is pretty aggro, so you don't need a ton of mana to play Gruul. But obviously, Radha does have this activate ability for 6 mana to give it +X, or X is the number of lands you control, which is pretty sweet. She does have first strike, which is cool, but she doesn't have trample. But here in Gruul, of course, we'd have ways to give it trample. But mostly we're just going to run some of the new, we're running a lot of the new core set cards that work fantastic with this theme with Radha as the commander, and there's plenty of existing things as well. So just a little bit of ramp, lots of cards that kind of interact with the top of our library, so we can kind of fix what our draws are going to be, and yeah, just other good kind of value plays in Gruul colors. So starting off with Adventurous Impulse, Sorcery Speed, look at the top 3 cards to reveal a creature or land from among them that goes into your hand. The rest go to the bottom of your library. Gilded Goose gives you some ramp or fixing, and obviously you can make food tokens to kind of gain life against certain aggressive matchups as well. Ranger's Guile, giving a creature +1/+1 and hexproof until end of turn, is pretty fantastic. Keep one of your creatures alive from spot removal. Especially if your opponent tries to kill it during combat, you just get that +1/+1 boost. And if you're able to give it trample as well, it can also help you kind of close out games. Just that little extra point of damage can sometimes make all the difference. Kind of same thing here with Heroic Intervention. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So it's like a Ranger's Guile on steroids. Just a fantastic way to keep all of your creatures alive. And permanents as well. So any planeswalkers or things like that you might have down as well. Yeah, if your opponent tries to go for the sweeper, nope, Heroic Intervention. Paradise Druid, of course, works fantastic in any Gruul list. Scavenging Ooze, another new card from Core 21, 2/2. For 2, which is reasonable, you can pay green to exile card from a graveyard, and if it's a creature card, you get a +1/+1 counter on the Ooze, and you gain a life. So this is going to be our graveyard interaction here, so that's going to be pretty sweet. And we can choose our opponents or our own graveyard, which makes Ooze so fantastic. Silhana Wayfinder is another way for us to kind of look at the top of our library, as it's a 2/1 for 2. When it enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature or land from them, put it on top of our library. The rest go to the bottom. So nothing too amazing, but it's a 2-powered creature for 2 mana, and it kind of fixes your draw for the following turn. And of course, if it's a land, and you have Radha out, well, you can just play that land, so that works great. Track Down is another new card here from Core 21. Sorcery Speed, 2 mana, scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or land, we get to draw a card. So that's pretty reasonable. Just kind of finding whatever we need, creatures or lands. And then the Collision Colossus, a way for us to kind of get one of our creatures trample. For 2 mana, target creature gets +4/+2 until end of turn, and trample, of course. And of course, you can do the collision side to do 6 damage to a creature with flying. Because Gruul doesn't really have too many ways of, it doesn't have too many flyers or too many creatures with reach, at least not playable ones. We'd have a couple, of course, which we're about to get to. Bonecrusher Giant, of course, is just kind of a easy inclusion. Garruk's Harbinger is another new card from Core Set 21. It's a 4/3. For 3 mana, 1 and double green. Hexproof from black, which is going to be fantastic in certain matchups. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, look at that many cards from the top of your library, and you can reveal a creature or a Garruk planeswalker from among them, put it into your hand. And the rest go to the bottom of your library. So just a nice card advantage on a 4-powered creature with Hexproof from black. So just a really sweet card. Llanowar Visionary, haven't really played with it too much. It's pretty medium. I think it really depends on what kind of deck you're running. There's so many good options in Standard right now that I don't know how much Llanowar Visionary will actually see in Standard, because there's just so many typically better things you can be doing than something like this. Llanowar Visionary is basically a Llanowar Elf plus Elvish Visionary, So it's a 3 mana 2/2. When it enters, draw a card, and you can tap it for green mana. Typically, having a 3 mana creature that ramps you is typically not very good. It's the 1 and 2 mana creatures where you really need that ramp. But you know, in Brawl format, a lot of these cards actually get that much better because everyone's playing kind of a has to kind of resort to these types of cards to kind of fill out their deck. And just drawing a card while making a creature and having ramp the following turn, not going to complain about that too much. Thrashing Brontodon, of course, just fantastic. This has been around since Ixalan Block and keeps getting reprinted now in the last couple of core sets. So just fantastic to have it around. 3/4 creature for 3 mana is a pretty fantastic body, and then be able to destroy artifacts or enchantments in speed. Gotta love it. Gruul Spellbreaker lets be aggressive 3/3 Riot Trample, and as long as it's our turn, it and the Spellbreaker have Hexproof, which is pretty cool. And Clothis, 4/5 Indestructible. Devotion has to be 7 or more for it to be a creature, and because of your combat, you can exile lands or other spells. If it's land, you get to add mana to your mana pool, red or green. Otherwise, you gain 2 life and deal 2 damage to each opponent. Tectonic Giant, just a nice value creature here. Definitely one that probably don't see enough play, but yeah, it's pretty fun. 3/4 for 4 mana, so it's not super amazing. However, whenever it attacks or becomes a target of a spell an opponent controls, we get to choose to either deal 3 damage to each opponent or exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until your next turn. Till the end of your next turn, we can play that card. So it's either card advantage or additional damage. So Tectonic Giant in the right situations is fantastic. So we're running a lot of creatures ourselves, but you know, it is Brawl. Sometimes your opponent just kind of goes off and has tons of creatures that flood the board. Well, so Akroan War is kind of a one-sided board wipe. Comes down, gain control of a creature for as long as the Akroan War is on the battlefield, and until your next turn, your creatures on your opponent's side have to attack each combat if able. So you can maybe block with the creature you stole, just to have it prevent the maximum damage, and then let that creature die as a way to kind of get rid of it. And then each tap creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So against certain decks, it's a little medium because there are lots of creatures where the power toughness don't really line up. Obviously, we just went through several of them. The Brontodon's a 3/4, the Clothis is a 4/5. I mean, it's indestructible anyway, but you get the idea. Tectonic Giant is a 3/4. So there's definitely decks and situations where the Akroan War doesn't necessarily do much on turn 3, but when it does go off and it does actually give you value, it's gonna feel pretty darn good. Another new core set card is Garruk Unleashed. That's pretty similar to the Vivian 4 that we've had in Standard for a little while now. +1. They have a creature +3/+3 and trample until end of turn, or you can -2 to make a 3/3 beast creature token. And if an opponent controls more creatures than you, you get to put a loyalty counter on Garruk. So if it comes down, you can make a 3/3 to protect it, and you -2 down to 2, but then you get another loyalty back up to 3. So it's pretty reasonable. And you know, Vivian obviously gives it +1/+1 counter, which stays on there, and then trample till end of turn, which is kind of it's a bit of a wash overall as to which one is more valuable, but of course being able to fight something with her minus is typically better. But since we are running a 2-color deck, Garruk is just much easier because it's only 2 green, whereas Vivian is 3 greens. That's why we're running Garruk instead. Gemrazer here. So now we do have some reach. 4/4 reach trample. You can mutate it for 3 to destroy an artifact or enchantment. So gotta love Gemrazer. Nylea. So we are 2 colors. However, you only need devotion up to 5 for green, so it's not going to be too hard because you have plenty of green spells. The Brontodon, of course, the Harbinger, the Garruk, they'll have double green in their mana cost. So we're slightly green anyway, so getting to 5 devotion shouldn't be too difficult, and we're pretty creature heavy as well. So revealing the top card of your library to reveal a creature card into your hand, otherwise put it into your graveyard, and creature spells costing 1 less, and just a 5/6 indestructible for 4 mana. Nylea pretty much does everything we need it to do. Questing Beast, of course, is just kind of an auto include. Shifting Ceratops, same thing, protection from blue. Can't be countered, and then you give it reach, trample, or haste. Skarrgan Hellkite, another way for us to be aggressive, and gives us a flyer. 4/5, flying, and riot, so we can make it a 5/5 with this activated ability where you can pay 4 to deal 2 damage if either you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Or you can just have it come down as a 4/4 hasting flyer. Terror of the Peaks, another new card from Core Set 21. Seems like this card is going to see quite a bit of play going forward, and we've got some pretty beefy creatures that synergize well with this, so definitely going to include it in here. 5/4 flyer for 5. Spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast, so even if they kill it, they're taking 3 life in the process. And of course, if something like a Murderous Rider, then they're taking 5, so that's pretty cool. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Tear the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So the fact that it's just any target, it doesn't, like a lot of these spells, they seem like it's like, typically it's creatures or planeswalkers. So Tear the Peaks, being able to hit any target is what really makes this card super, super playable. And just a 5 power creature for 5 mana, it's pretty reasonable in and of itself. Cavalier of Thorns is just a fantastic option. So we are slightly green anyway, so don't mind the triple green of the mana cost for Cavalier. It does have reach, so we do have some reasonable protection against flyers once we get to the late game. And when it enters, we get to put a land on the battlefield from the top, top 5 cards. And when the Cavalier dies, we can exile it and then put one of our cards from our graveyard back on top of our library, so fixing our draw step. Older Gargoth, another new card from Core Set 21. It's just kind of a ridiculous card like Quest and Beast, just has way too much text on it. In certain matchups, this card is just insane. 5 mana, 6/6, Vigilance, Reach, Trample. When it attacks or blocks, we can make a 3/3 beast, we can gain 3 life, or we can draw a card. Like, it might as well just say, like, do all these things. I mean, this card is just kind of stupid. Like, I don't understand why Wizards keeps printing cards that just do, like, everything. Like, we need, like, fair magic and not cards that just do, like, a million things. It just seems kind of dumb, but we're going to play it because it's a reasonable card, and it's, it's Brawl, so having a one of these kind of cards isn't really that big of a deal at the end of the day. Vivian here is another fantastic value Planeswalker, 5 mana, 3 loyalty, look at the top card of your library anytime, which works fantastic with Radha. We can cast creature spells from top of your library. You can +1 make 3/3 beast, and you can -2 to, when you cast a creature, look for a lesser converted mana cost creature to put onto the battlefield. Kogla here is a little bit of a removal in the form of a 7/6 body. When it enters, fights up to 1 target creature you don't control, and when it attacks, we get to destroy an artifact or enchantment on our opponent's side. Don't think we have too much synergy here with the activated ability to return target human you control to its owner's hand and then give it indestructible until end of turn. Didn't really think about that too much because mostly we just worried about the top half of the text where it fights and it destroys artifacts or enchantments. That's all we're really worried about. I don't think I've ever actually activated this ability, even some of the other standard decks I made with Kogla, but maybe we do have some human in here, so not really too worried about it. Beanstalk Giant lets us ramp, fix our mana, and then come down later on as just a big beefy creature. Great Henge, just a nice way for us to kind of gain life against those aggro matchups while putting counters on our creatures as they enter the battlefield and draw additional cards. So Great Henge, just a fantastic kind of auto-include in any creature-based matchup, creature-based deck in Brawl. And some additional new cards here with the Volcanic Salvo. It's 10 red for sorcery speed. However, it costs X less to cast, for X is the total power of creatures you control. So it's basically like Galta, but as a sorcery to deal damage. Unfortunately, it deals 6 damage to each of the 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. So you can't deal damage to your opponent's face, which is kind of the only downside. But 6 damage is a lot to deal with creatures or planeswalkers, and you get it. So you basically get to kill your opponent's 2 best, biggest creatures or planeswalkers. So Volcanic Salvo, it's a pretty interesting removal spell, but we have tons of power in this deck, so we can definitely get this for pretty cheap and get rid of our opponent's biggest threats. Purphoros' Intervention is one of those cards that probably didn't see enough play as it should. It just seems like a really great removal spell. Being able to do twice X damage to a creature or a planeswalker, and then also making an X1 elemental with trample or haste. So you're basically dealing damage to your opponent's face, to a creature or a planeswalker, all for just red and X. This is sorcery speed, so it's kind of the only little bit of downside, but even then, I think this is like a fantastic card. They definitely jam it in a lot of my red-based decks. Primal Might, we're going to try it here as a additional removal spell. X and green to target creature you control gets +X until end of turn. Then it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So the nice thing about this is that permanent is that creature gets the +X until end of turn. So it's going to fight and it's going to kill something, and then we get to swing in with it. So if our opponent doesn't have very good blocks, if it has trample, maybe we have a Garruk down. We don't have to spend mana, and we just activate Garruk that's already down, and we can just give something trample and the +3/+3, and then we try Primal Might on top of that. You're going to do so much damage with things like that. So there's definitely lots of fun things you can do with Primal Might in this list. And finally we have Volcanic Geyser. It's X red, excuse me, instant speed to deal X damage to any target. So we've seen similar effects like this with like Banefire that was in standard not too long ago and historic now, of course. which is sorcery speed, or just red and X. But just double red and X, it still seems pretty reasonable to do at instant speed. So Volcanic Geyser just seems like a nice way to close out the game, because we have ways, thanks to Radha, to get a bunch of lands onto the battlefield pretty quickly. So if we just need to close out the game, then Volcanic Geyser is another way for us to do that. So mana base, we're running 25 lands, I believe. Yeah, 25 lands. So we have the 8 mountains, 9 forests, since we are just slightly green. The Guild Gate, Highlands, Stomping Ground, Temple of Abandon. We do want all the fixings because we have lots of double and triple red or green spells at times. So just making sure we have the right fixing that we need. Blast Zone, since we are a lot of our removal is pretty mana intensive, so just having like a Blast Zone that can kind of wipe out. If our opponent is able to kind of go wide on us, lots of cheaper creatures, Blast Zone can kind of help us clean some of that stuff up. And Bonder's Enclave, now this is a draw card, so when we have our big beefy creatures out to kind of find those additional removal spells or ways for us to kind of punch through for damage if we're in a little bit of a board stall. And of course Command Tower, any multicolored deck should have a Command Tower and Fabled Passage as well. So Brawl is free anytime now. Thank you for finally allowing us to play Brawl whenever we want. So yeah, let's jump into some matches, see how we do. Okay, up against Judith. Well, that hand seems pretty solid. We have the Paradise Druid. Serrated Scorpion. We'll just go with the Visionary here. Excuse me. Dread Horde Invasion. Swing 1. Can we attack 2 here? We need to keep some counter pressure on our opponent since they can be pretty aggressive. Okay. Bastion of Remembrance and Dread Horde Invasion. So we will Harbinger. We'll just Radha, that's fine. Let's think about stomping the amass token, but we can always do that next turn. Okay, that's a pretty nice go from our opponent. Yeah, we'll take the blocks where we can. If they want to give us those, we'll take it. Kill our Radha, sure. Okay, so Stomp Judith. We can Kogla it as well. No, I think we just Stomp Judith. Bastion is pretty annoying. Yeah, we'll swing 4, see if we can get some card advantage going. Nylea seems pretty good. Maybe we'll drop Nylea. Plus Goose. So we have 6 devotion, so Nylea can block pretty handily here. A Low Strider with the Bastion out, that's pretty nasty. Just firing it off. So we're okay here, but not amazing. I think we want to keep this token in check. Probably just Kogla next turn on... I want to get rid of that Knight, but since they attack with it, maybe we'll just go for the Low Strider and get that off the board. Because otherwise with the Bastion out, they could definitely get some value there. They can Woe Strider sack the token. Do they have a 2-mana play here that they're considering, or did they lose connection? Of course, Nylea makes our creatures cheaper, which is nice. We're mostly green, but we have 3 mountains and a single forest out. But we know how to play everything since we have the Druid and the Visionary. That has been clutch. Okay, not sure what's going on here. Looks like maybe they just lost their connection, or maybe they have some real world stuff going on. Pretty interesting attack with this board state. I think I would have slowed it down. I played a little bit more conservative if I was them. I mean, they swing, swing. We block, take 2. They could sack the token to a Woe Strider just to get the scry. That's going to die anyway. And ping us for additional 1. That would just be 3. Unless they have some other 2-mana effect here. Definitely want to deal with this knight at some point, but Woe Strider with the bash now is probably just a more dangerous threat, and they're just 1 card in their graveyard, so we're not too worried about escape at this point. So depending on what we draw, we probably just Kogla, fight the Woe Strider. And probably just attack with the Harbinger. Since our life total is getting low. Obviously the Goose can make food, and we can sack the food to gain life. So I think we were pretty close to turning the table there, but obviously if they had a bunch of removal, they could have done some pretty nasty things. Okay, up against Kenrith. Wow, no green. Just 2 lands. We do have a Druid, so yeah, we'll keep it. Not much devotion as yet, but we should get there then. We'll see what kind of list our opponent is up to. Or just take it easy and go with the Visionary here. Play safe. The running Kenneth are probably a little bit on the controlling side. Yep, Interplanar Beacon, so they've got Planeswalkers for sure. Pestilent Haze. We're missing a red source to get Tectonic Giant down, which is pretty lame. We could Clothis, they only have 1 card in their graveyard. We could exile ours because we don't really care too much. So we'll just drop Radha and see what happens. So they have some removal spell. So be it. Oh, Spellbreaker. Just running counter magic? Nope, kill spell. Sure. Yeah, we're missing a mountain, so I'll grab a red source. Take action. We'll go haste. If they're going to be running a ton of removal, we just want to push damage across quickly. Clothis. Start gaining life, pinging away at them. Seems pretty good. So Akroan War, probably not doing too much. They do go for Kenrith right here. Amazing. Sure. Akroan War. Thank you. I'll put a counter on it. Why not? Oh, we should have given a haste. I forgot about that part. I mean, we've seen Kenrith and Fire Zone Venture decks for months, Even though they finally banned that card, it should have been banned a long time ago. Garruk can come down and kill something, gain some life thanks to the beacon, or they can just make some wolves. Just making some wolves. Sure. What else can we do here? No, yeah, trample and haste. Perfect. So, yeah. Got the Giant, which gives us that. Which I'm going to use our red, so being stuck on red has been kind of annoying. Just go face it at 15. We just need to put the clock on them. Between the Giant and Clothis, pinging away at them, that's our best bet. And yeah, they decide they've had enough. Alright, up against Nylea. Well, that's pretty cool. Hand's not amazing, but it's okay. You have the Ooze on 2, we can ramp on 3, or just get the Radha down, depending on where our opponent's up to. If they're Nylea, so they're probably pretty, I imagine they're fairly aggressive with creatures, but we'll see what kind of start they get off to. But yeah, hand seems as reasonable as any other. Wow, turn 1, Pelt Collector. Must be nice. Mirror Shield. Okay, so they can give their Pelt Collector or something hexproof. Annoying, but it's not the worst. We can just make bigger creatures so that's inconsequential. I think we just go Radha and try to get cards off top of our library here. Cards of Bastion. Okay, so they're gonna have some kind of proliferate synergy here. It's kind of hard to run Nylea and proliferate and make room for things like that all at once. But if they can make it work, cool. Let's get Radha down. Collision Colossus, okay. So hopefully the card under that is a land, otherwise we just Fertile Footsteps to go find a second red source. Could just cloth this, but you know both graveyards are empty, so I don't think that matters too much. We can Shadow Spear and make it a 2/4. Maybe they have a pump spell here. That's beautiful. Good Questing Beast. That's pretty good. That is very good. Let's search for land, go to combat, and then hold up the Colossus and deal with the Pelt Collector that way. See if our opponent is smart enough to not block here. If that's your only creature out, then life is rough. So with Nylea as your commander, we just need to keep them off Devotion. So if they want to take this bait, we'll be happy to trample through and get rid of this Pelt Collector. They do not. Do we do it anyway? Just to push damage. 7/5, hit for 9. Let's save it. I don't think the collision side is going to be relevant in this matchup, but as far as the Colossus side, I think we want to hold that up. So next turn we have Hellkite, or we can just Questing Beast. We probably don't have ways to deal with a flyer. So we hit 2, gain 2. As of right now, they think we're swinging for 5, but we have the Hellkite ready to go. Go haste. I don't think we're gonna be pinging stuff. I don't think we're gonna be activating its ability anytime soon, so no reason to go for that. Just push the extra damage across and race, especially with the lifelink on the Shadow Spear on the Pelt Collector. And I might just Gargaroth here and then just save Poison Beast as kind of the knockout blow, but we'll see. Ooze, that's pretty cute. Sure. Swing 2, go back to 15, no problem. So let's hold up the Colossus still. If they want to block with their Ooze, actually maybe we just Primal Might and fight it. Could do 4. All we really need to do is like 1. So we need 2 manas. 2 mana for that, so I think we can do both. No, Colossus needs 1 of each. Guildgate, that's pretty cool. So we'll do 3. Auto pay. Swing, swing. We have first strike on Radha, so we'll definitely be happy to get that Ooze off the board. Okay, they forgot about the first strike. Harpooner can deal with our Hellkite. The Gilded Goose. They want to guarantee additional damage here. And not lose their Harpooner. I guess that's fine. So you can attack 3. We could block with our Ooze, but we have some nice juicy targets, so I think we'll save that. And we're not too worried about this Pelt Collector just yet. I think we kind of want them to attack because we have some nice follow-ups here. So hopefully they attack with Pelt Collector, and then we can stomp the Harpooner, then maybe Questing Beast. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's exactly 6. Questing Beast plus 2 for Stomp. So that's what we wanted to see. We'll take it. We're still doing just fine. They're definitely on their back foot. So I think it makes sense for them to try to gain a little bit of life and still kind of keep the pressure up. I think they're just about dead here. Let's see, 4, 8, 11, yep, 4, 8, 11, 13. Alright, made things a little bit interesting. Kind of a curious deck with the Mirror Shield and all the enchantments. But then you're running Karn's Bastion, but there's no Proliferate synergy outside of the Pelt Collector having counters. I mean, Harpooner is fine. I guess the Ooze, but that just when it's just a 1 of out of 60 cards, that's a little sketchy. But there's plenty of other things in green that have counters, so I'm kind of curious what the rest of their list looks like. Obviously, Barrier Breach. You can always cycle it away, and that can do damage against more enchantment-oriented decks, especially like Calyx. Definitely seen some plenty of that. It's an interesting list. I think I'm gonna leave it off right there. Lots of cool new toys in core set for Gruul. I've seen plenty of cool takes on Gruul in the core set 21 standard, and certainly Radha is a very fun commander. I'm sure she'll be seeing a lot of play. Something that spoke to me, so even though it is something you'll probably be seeing a lot of play, it's still something I want to kind of get out there and kind of put my take on it. There's certainly more ways you can kind of go all in on the top of the library strategy. I try to do things like Adventurous Impulse, the Wayfinder, so you're still kind of interacting with your graveyard and still playing, but they're still reasonable cards on their own, synergistically, at least. Yeah, but in the day, it's just kind of a Gruul aggro list with lots of cool new toys. Maybe some of this top end removal should just be more cheaper removal, so you don't get kind of run over by the more decks that get off to kind of a faster start. Because there's definitely some decks like elementals where if they just kind of get their elemental package going in the early game, they just kind of steamroll you a little bit with card advantage and whatnot. So maybe just some cheaper removal would be better than like the Geyser or the Salvo, Primal Might, things like that. But yeah, the Primal Might actually put in some work in that last game there. But maybe the Geyser should just come out for something else. Otherwise, yeah, there's plenty of reasonable options in here. But you definitely have to put in like a lava coil maybe or something like that. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. Otherwise, looking forward to more Brawl content and standard content. Tons of that still coming. So thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, make sure you jank